Is the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, good for America?
No, absolutely not. I've asked my financial officer, I said, what does the insurance company know? How's Obamacare going to affect us? And he says, they don't know yet. Everybody in my company has the same insurance policy that I do, or I have the same one they do. And insurance rates are starting to go up, or for us, and as they are every place else, but we still don't know the effect of Obamacare. I believe Obamacare is a violation of the 5th, 9th, and 10th Amendments and needs to be repealed on that basis. It is going to be a job killer. It is the first step, or the biggest step they've had towards socialized medicine, and it's for real. And if we don't stop it, it's just going to tip us over that edge towards socialism.
Okay, and to that end, if you repeal Obamacare, do you want to just go back to the system we had before, or do you have some other ideas?
Just repealing it is not going to do it. There are parts of Obamacare in all aspects of our medical system right now. They need to be rooted out, defunded, and it's not just a matter of a vote in Washington to just negate what has happened. There is stuff in there that has gone deep into our medical system. I do believe in a safety net for the people that need it. But I of course, don't believe in socialized medicine. There are so many aspects of our medical care. I mean, I know that most of the medical care happens in the last 3 years of life. And this is a very difficult area to work with. It should not and cannot be dictated by our government as to what happens in the last years of life. That is a cultural issue. That is an issue that we need to establish in our culture as to how to deal with it. And that culture is put in place not by legislation, but by demonstration. We have had to deal with things like this all through life. Hard decisions in our family, and they should not be put into a panel dictated by our federal government as to what happens.
Okay, thank you on that. Is the deficit a problem for the United States? If so, how would you fix it? If not, why not?
The deficit is probably the biggest problem that's out there. As a businessman, that's what worries me the most. Right now we've got, what, $16 trillion in debt. In another 10 years, even with the cutbacks they're talking about, we could be up around $25 trillion in debt. Another $9 trillion on top. Do you know what the interest payment on $25 trillion is? At 2%, which is what the Fed funds are going out right now, the Treasury bills, that is $500 billion a year in interest. That is bigger than a number of our budgets in our budget right now. $500 billion. That is a backbreaker for our country. That is why I'm worried about our future generations, because we are leaving that to them. Those future generations are going to look back on us and say, what were you thinking to leave us such a mess after your parents left you such a wonderful America? How do you pay off $500 billion a year in debt and get that down? That is what the Fed is doing, is trying to monetize our debt, to devalue the dollar, and that's the only opportunity they have, the only option they have. It is huge what the debt is going to be doing to us.
Okay, so you've outlined the problem. What would be your solution?
Reduce what the government spends. And the way to do this, first of all, first thing I do is eliminate all czar positions. Just get rid of them. Any function, move it into the panel. Gosh darn, I can't even think of the name. But get rid of all czar positions. I would get rid of the EPA and move it into the Commerce Department, or then into the Department of Interior. Any function that's necessary. I would get rid of the Department of Education and move that back to the states. That, and then anything Justice Department would enforce all laws on education that are necessary from the federal. I would get every department into the cabinet positions, and then I would tell the cabinet positions that you need to reduce your force, your labor, your employees by 1/3. All cabinet positions. And then I would say the people you bring in to run those cabinet positions, you need to pay them very well, and they will figure out how to get that done. You put it on them to do it, and that's how you reduce the cost of government, and that'll start cutting down on our debt.
How would you fix America's immigration situation?
I'm the last speaker up here, and you've probably heard a lot of this before. First of all, you got to build the wall. Once you secure the country, then you can defend it against illegal immigration. I am against amnesty. I believe our parents taught us there are consequences to our actions, painful as they may be, and we should not sacrifice that culture for people who have broken our laws. Now, Rick Perry says we can't build a wall across Texas. Well, that's nuts. The Chinese built a wall that is 5,000 miles long, and they did it 2,000 years ago. If the Chinese can do it, we can do it. I would dispatch the National Guard to stand guard on our border. That is their reason for being, is to defend our borders against invasion. And people say, well, that, we don't think that would do any good. Have you ever seen a National Guard unit move in? They can be terrifying. People need to know that we are going to defend our borders and not let illegals in, of any kind, good or bad. And then we need to take away the economic incentive for them to be here, including the education.
Okay.
Take away the reason for being here.
Alrighty. And I've heard on some of the political discussions that in today's America, it could take quite a long time to build a fence, given all the regulations and a number of other things. If that were the reality, how would you handle that?
Well, America can do what America wants to do, especially within our country. You've got to have the determination to get done what's right. I would, of course, this is a national thing. I can't, deploy the National Guard, but that to me is the first step that could be taken to secure that border against people that are coming in that shouldn't. And it's only on the southern border. We don't have to do it with Canada. And why? Because the Canadians don't want to be here. They've got a fine economy up there. Which goes back to NAFTA. Why we ought to repeal NAFTA. That was something that was a bad deal for everybody, including the Mexicans. It was a terrible deal. If it was such a good deal for Mexico, why do the Mexicans want to be here? NAFTA needs to be repealed and renegotiated. And again, take away the incentive for people to be here. The illegals that are here right now need to go home and fix their own country. I'm sorry, that's what our ancestors did. That's what our founding fathers did. If we fixed our own country, and they need to go home and fix their country.
Okay, thank you very much. That's the end of